2018. Going to flip over that calendar to November. Daylight savings going to kick in here in the United States in just a few days, but it is heating up in all facets of Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, NCAA football, NFL football. We're going to bring everything to you today. Presented by SportsbookReview.com. As usual, I'll be your host today, Donnie, RightSide, folks. Get everything out of the way for us here. You know what we do at SportsbookReview.com. It's about gambling. It's about keeping you in the know. It's about pointing you in the right direction to see if there's some added tips we can give you to provide more and more winners. If you haven't done so yet, follow us there at SBRodds.com. Free odds service there. Get all the line movements right up till game time, completely free at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Give us a follow there. Great information comes out all the time. Banter going back and forth. We're not one of those accounts, folks. If you come back and you respond to something that we tweet out, we're going to get back to you. We're going to have some fun, and it is all about sports and winning money as well. If you haven't done so yet there, you're watching right now on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button there. Get the notifications right away. Me and Ian are going to kick it off tonight. You would already know with that alert. Chime on. Get on that live chat box. We're going to have a lot of fun. Today is Wednesday, folks. You know what that means. We're going to get our fill of NHL action tonight with Ian Cameron, who's going to be on with us in just a few moments. Ian and I also going to talk a little bit of college football. There is MACtion tonight. That's taking place with one game. Also, we have some action tomorrow taking place on Thursday. We'll go over the Thursday and the Friday card in NCAA action. Also, Ian's going to go over NHL action for us at 5 spots tonight, which is nice on a Wednesday. Typically, we only get maybe 2-3 games max. We'll also take a look at some NBA action. And, of course, folks, we are going to get to Game 7 of the World Series. An interesting game tonight. I was really rooting for it last night in Game 6. Didn't have any real money on the game for the Dodgers, but was just hoping they would win and get to a Game 7 where anything can happen. Let's not wait any longer tonight, folks. It's Wednesday. It's time to talk some hockey. One of my favorite guests here on the network. See him all over the place, with ice guys to the round table to giving out free winners and wagers all over sportsbookreview.com. That is Ian Cameron. Follow him at Bobano. Ian, welcome into the show Wednesday night, my friend.
Donnie, Wednesday, Wicked Wednesday. Great to be with you as always. We've got a Game 7 in the World Series tonight. It's always a special night when you can talk about a Game 7, not just in baseball, but NBA, NHL, the other sports that have series in the postseason. Of course, you don't have a series scenario in NFL or college football, but when you can get a Game 7 in the NBA, in the NHL, in a World Series like we got tonight, it's always a special night. And for sure, closing line for a sports bettor, and we assume that's who we're talking to here, this is where you got to be. Don't go to ESPN Sports Center. You're not going to hear what you need to hear watching that. They're going to talk about the NBA guy that gets arrested for a DUI and comment, what's this mean? Oh, the NFL guy that gets accused of assaulting his girlfriend. No, none of that stuff. We talk about point spreads, totals, things from a betting perspective right here on the closing line every weeknight.
Yeah, me and Ian already did a show today, 12:30, which most of you probably even tuned into and watched. The roundtable, we have a great time. Drew hosted. Also, the big man on campus appears with us as well, giving out that information. The difference between that show and the closing line, folks, is we take a gauge of what's happening over the course of like the NFL season, the NCAA football season. Tonight, we're going to be focused in on some action going on tonight, obviously with the MAC football game, Major League Baseball, hockey, and NBA. And then we'll do a little bit of previews there because I am digging in a lot into some NFL action on Sunday, as well as the full card complete there on Friday and Saturday in college football as well. So let's get started tonight, Ian. The one thing I do want to go over and get it, I don't even want to say get it out of the way. I'm excited for this game. 9:13, 9:14, 8:20 Eastern time first pitch. 5:20 Pacific. That's going to be Houston and the Dodgers. McCullers getting the start, the young kid on the mound for the Houston Astros in this one, and the Dodgers sending out ace Yu Darvish, who didn't have a very good game last time he took the mound, so hoping for a little bit of retribution here going into this. Pinnacle, Ian, opened up a little bit short here, -110. Chris opened up or maybe reposted once the final starters came out at -145. Sitting at Chris right now, -158. CG Technologies, -152. Bet Online, -154. And over-under total, Ian, looks like opening at 7.5 and currently sitting across the board. Ian, give me some thoughts on this game tonight as we go back and forth and take a look at this Game 7 here.
Yeah, when it comes to Game 7 of the World Series here tonight, Donnie, it's very clear that this game is going to get the majority of my attention tonight. There are sports I like more than baseball, and people that know me know that. I like football a lot more. I like basketball, I would say a lot more, at least a good amount more. Hockey, I certainly like more than baseball. But this is Game 7 of the World Series. I'll be glued in on this thing from start to finish, watching it unfold like pretty much the entire continent, I would assume, would be. Of North America. I know a lot of Canadians are into this World Series. Certainly Americans will be as well. Unfortunately, Donnie, from a betting standpoint, I'm going to have to be pretty dull with this game because I don't have much of anything here on this game. It's a very well-priced line. It's -155. minus 160. I was interested in the LA side, but not going to lay a price like this in a game 7 situation, especially when you look at the quality at bats that the Houston Astros managed to put together earlier in this series, Donnie, against Yu Darvish. I mean, this is a guy that they hit pretty hard earlier in this series, and it's as good as Yu Darvish was pitching down the stretch of the regular season, especially in the postseason prior to this World Series. The Astros' ability to really be patient at the plate when facing Yu Darvish really makes me reluctant to want to really lay this kind of price with Darvish and the Dodgers, even though I was looking toward the LA side. You know, from a bullpen situation, Donnie, I think it's going to be, all hands on deck. You're going to see Dallas Keuchel if need be. You're going to see Clayton Kershaw in this game if need be. He's already voiced multiple times in this series alone to Dave Roberts, the manager, that, hey, if you need me, I'm here. If you need innings and you need outs late in these games, I am ready to do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to make sure we get the job done in the latter stages. So you would expect all of the hands on deck in terms of starting pitchers on both sides to be maybe made available. You might see Charlie Morton out of the bullpen tonight too for the Astros. You can't discount that. It's just everything on deck here in this game. And the McCullers and Darvish are both going to have a short leash. To me, an interesting play, and I think the best lean I have in this game is maybe over 7.5, just because you've got that unfamiliar situation where you're going to have guys in roles they're not used to. You say what you want about Keuchel. You say what you want about Kershaw. Premium arms in Major League Baseball. They are still not used to this kind of pressure role coming out of the bullpen in a big-time spot, win or bust type of scenario here. They may not be bringing their A game tonight. They're going to give you everything they've got. But do they have it in them in these kind of big situations that they're not used to being in, to getting those big-time, important, critical outs late in games, whether it's Keuchel, Kershaw, or other pitchers that are used to being starters, not necessarily relievers, coming in late in this game? I think it could be advantage hitters in that situation. So, yeah, I was looking to bet the Dodgers. Don't love the price, staying off that. Strongest lean I have is over 7.5. I think because you got pitchers in different situations that they're not quite comfortable with, could be an advantage for both of these lineups tonight.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch because, I mean, you're having two good lineups again out there. If we take a look at the Houston Astros lineup going with the usual suspects out there, Springer in the leadoff hole, Bregman, Altuve, Correa, Gurriel, McCann, Marwin Gonzalez, Reddick, and then obviously McCullers batting ninth. But the interesting one I'm looking forward to tonight, Yu Darvish on the mound, obviously. Who's in that fifth hole there for Houston tonight? That would be one Yuli Gurriel. It's going to be fun to watch that, crowd reaction last night. I know stepping off the mound, Rich Hill, to make sure that Yuli Gurriel heard the boos from the stands. So should be a fun one tonight now that Yu Darvish is back on the mound. Does he want a little bit of retribution? Does he come up lame again? I can't see him lasting, 2/3 of an inning or, an inning and 2/3. I think he's going to have a pretty good game tonight. If we look from the Dodgers' perspective tonight here, Chris Taylor, Seager, Turner, Bellinger, Puig, Peterson, Forsythe, and Barnes. The one guy that just hasn't gotten it going here, Ian, is Cody Bellinger. I believe he's had 2 4-strikeout games already in the World Series. Just can't seem to get it underway. And that's coming from a season where he had 39 home runs and 97 RBIs. In that 4-hole there, it'd be nice to see him, if you're rooting for the Dodgers, to get it going a little bit, maybe get a base hit or two, hit, power stroke one tonight, because he hasn't shown up that much in the World Series. That's going to be a key guy they're going to look for. But again, getting back to Game 7, Ian, the most fun part about this is, you're right, it's all hands on deck, because there's no tomorrow. There's no, hey, my arm's a little bit sore, maybe I can get back on the mound in 2 to 3 days. There is no more tomorrow. It's Game 7. It's going to take place in Chavez Ravine. Fantastic place for baseball. Hopefully we get some good weather tonight in that game as anticipated. But 2 really good teams, and it's only fair, Ian, that we got a Game 7 out of it, right?
You know what? This series had a chance to be a classic before it began. It certainly lived up to that. Game 5 alone, I think, puts this series on that type of pedestal where it's probably one of the better World Series, certainly in my lifetime in 30-plus years, and you might even say going back further. This has been a competitive series, 2 teams going back and forth, trading haymakers in the center of the ring. No team has given an inch. We've seen incredible comebacks, great late rallies in multiple games here through the first 6 games. It's fitting it's a Game 7 tonight. And if this Game 7 is a 1 or 2 run game at the most in the 8th and 9th inning, I think you are really going to have to put this Astros-Dodgers World Series up there in terms of one of the best ever, because we have had compelling baseball from start to finish in this series. And I just get that feeling nothing's going to change in that department here tonight.
I mean, I really enjoyed that Cubs series last year with the Cleveland Indians. I would love to see it, Ian. Give me a 2-1 game. Give me a 3-1. Give me a 4-3 game heading into the ninth inning. Give me 4-4 where you head into extra innings. It's always fun, regardless of any sport. Because I know people out there, Ian, who aren't hockey fans, but you give me a Game 7 Stanley Cup final, I'm in on that. NBA, Game 7, I'm in on that. Same thing here with Major League Baseball. It's always a lot of fun to see how people perform. And anytime that trophy is going to be raised, a lot of eyeballs are going to be watching. I expect record numbers. It's great for Major League Baseball. Obviously, tonight, I don't think the MAC football game, Ian, tonight is going to outdraw the World Series. So I don't think they have too much on the rivalry card there, even with the NBA or NHL. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. In the way of betting styles there, Ian, I know you said you're going to be leaning on the 7.5 in that situation. I'll still lean on the Dodgers in this one. Leaned on them last night as a slight favorite. They got some money. They're taking some money tonight. What? CG Technologies 152, bet online, which I use, minus 155. I'll lean on taking the Dodgers here, money line, just like the home team in this situation. It wasn't even the fact that, Houston had their chance last night with Verlander on the mound. They're up 1-0. It's hard to get wins at this point. Anything can happen. We see it time and time again, even dating back to those Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees series where Game 7, no way Boston's going to go in and win Game 7 in Yankee Stadium. Of course, they ended up winning Game 7 in Yankee Stadium, completing that 3-0 or down 0-3 comeback in that. So we'll have a lot of fun watching this game tonight. But Major League Baseball, what a proper send-off, Ian. World Series Game 7, I'll have a lot of fun tonight. You're leaning towards the over 7.5. I'll lean towards the Dodgers, take a little bit of a square play in that one, and we'll certainly have some fun. Ian, football's on tonight. Yes, football is on tonight. It's Wednesday night. It's going to be some action. 3:05, 3:06. Two good football teams here. 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff here. It's going to be Central Michigan and Western Michigan. Not too far of a bus ride. Hop right on it. Head about midway across the state and sort of tee it up here as this rivalry takes place. Over under, Ian, opened up at 51.5. Now sitting, it looks like about 48 across the board. 47.5, 47 were available at some outlets a little bit earlier today, but some big line drop in the overall number here from the side perspective. Pinnacle -7, Chris -7, both opened it up. Pinnacle now showing a -3.5. You are getting some 4s out there with Chris, Bet Online, Sportsbook.com showing a 3.5. Interesting game here. And the reason for that price drop, folks, you haven't been paying attention, Wassink's going to be out for Western Michigan, the quarterback. A young kid's going to start. Read option kid, pretty athletic. But the one problem, when I say I like to bet games in the MAC and you get a good feel, this is one of the tougher ones to have because you don't have a lot of film on the Western Michigan quarterback. Wassink got hurt, I believe, midway through the fourth quarter in that game. So only a couple possessions for the young kid. They ended up pulling a victory over Eastern Michigan, which is a nice win. But now you're going to get a different breed of Central Michigan. I know a lot of people saw Central Michigan struggle as the season went on. They now have Willis back at wide receiver, their top playmaker from last year. Also Conklin at tight end, who to me is the best tight end over on the conference. They're full go on offense. In this game, Ian, I don't really like a side as much here because I don't fully know what I'm going to get out of the quarterback and how fluid he's going to be in the offense. But in a MAC game, if you're going to give me a 48 on the board, I'm going to lean towards taking the over. I love Central Michigan's offense. If Shane Morris is on target tonight, they have a plethora of weapons on that offense that can score against Western Michigan. The one thing that I do like about Western Michigan can still do running that read option with Jamari Bogan. I know Bellamy's going to be out for this football game, but Franklin is also available. They have two pounded out, really good running backs, similar to what you watched last night in Bowling Green. When the passing game's not getting going, you can run on Central Michigan, Ian. They have two running backs that can get it done. Don't like the side tonight, but I'm going to lean on that over 48 here, Ian. Any thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, a MAC game in the high 40s is difficult for me to make a case for the under, even at the best of times. And I know there's people thinking that the drop-off from Wassink at the quarterback spot to his backup here, Reese Goddard, is going to be a little bit of an issue, but I'm not so sure. I mean, we'll end up seeing in the end how he does, but he got his feet wet at least in the Eastern Michigan game a little bit, and we'll see how he performs here in this kind of situation. Now that he's had practice time, a chance to assimilate himself with this Western Michigan offense. So, let's keep in mind, you're still talking about a Central Michigan defense, which has been vulnerable a little bit, 5.2 yards per play allowed, 386 total yards per game allowed. Neither of those are fantastic by any stretch. But as you mentioned, Donnie, 4.5 yards per carry allowed, 192 rush yards per game allowed this season by Central Michigan defensively. So that should allow this read option type of offensive game plan that Western Michigan wants to bring to the table. maybe to get going. And on the flip side, there's a lot to like about Shane Morris, the Michigan transfer. He's played in a big program. He's played big games before. He's not going to be fazed by this atmosphere. And you look at Central Michigan in 3 MAC games, I usually throw out a little bit, Donnie, what they did in the non-conference. They're stepping up in class. They're just beaten from an athleticism, depth, and just overall speed perspective when they play, Syracuse and Boston College and teams like that. So when I see those results for Central Michigan, once MAC play starts, I try to take those with a grain of salt, throw them away a little bit. I want to know how they do inside the conference, and they scored 26 against Ohio, moved the ball pretty well there. Against Toledo, only scored 10, but they did have some turnovers in that game as well. And then they did what every team does against Ball State, roll them up in terms of points and yards, and they hang 56 against them, Central Michigan, in their last game. So I think they can move the ball. There has been some movement in this total. I think now that it's down from 51.5 to 48, you can make a case for the over. From a side perspective, Donnie, it's one of those lay 3, take 7 games. If it's 7, where it was at the opener, I'm probably leaning Central Michigan here. Now that it's down to closer to 3.5, 4 in that range, I'd actually lay it with Western Michigan in this spot. I don't think there's going to be that huge drop-off going to Goddard. They can run. Central Michigan's been a little soft up front on the defensive line. They've allowed teams to run on them a little bit. I think at the current number, after that heavy money move towards Central Michigan, I see some value now actually on the Western side, 3.5 here in this game. I know PJ Fleck's gone, and all I hear about is PJ Fleck. Well, he's struggling a little bit with that Minnesota team, and he didn't leave a bare cupboard behind here at Western Michigan. This is still a talented group. Now that you're getting a discounted rate with them here at the current number, only way I'm playing this game at the 3.5 number is lay with Western Michigan.
Yeah, you know what's interesting here, folks? Just tuning into the closing line, November 1st, 2017, powered by SportsbookReview.com. Just going over a little bit of MAC football right now with my resident guest host on Wednesdays, Ian Cameron. Follow him on Twitter, @Bobano. Looking at this game, Ian, I've always loved the MAC, and I pay attention to it probably way more than I should at this point. But if we really break down the games that these two teams have played and some of the talent that they're getting back, I think you can sort of formulate why this game's going to hit a total or hit an over. If you're looking at Western Michigan's perspective, take out Wagner. That doesn't make any sense. They beat Ball State 55-3, but they still also had Wasink at quarterback and also Levante Bellamy, who is a really, really good running back. They had a 3-headed monster with Western Michigan that was really damn good. They're down Bellamy, but still Bogan and Jarvian Franklin, both of them come over 100 per game at any moment there, so they're going to be just fine there. The Buffalo game ends up 71-68. That was an overtime, I believe, 5 overtime game. Those teams, I believe, were in the 30s by the time they hit overtime. So still, putting up some decent numbers, but also, again, was still with Wasink at quarterback. The Akron game, I like to throw that game out because if you remember, Ian, that's the game that was supposed to be played on a Saturday, and their home field for Western Michigan looked like a fishbowl, got pushed to Sunday. Still a little bit of questionable conditions in that one, 14-13 final. And then you take a look at Eastern Michigan, who to me, overall in the MAC, does have the absolute best defensive unit there, a 20-17 final on that one. If we look at Central Michigan, they lose to Miami of Ohio. We saw how bad Miami of Ohio is, but that's back when they had Gus Ragland a little bit better, but still trying to find their way with Shane Morris at quarterback, and also a couple of the wide. Willis was out for that football game, and I don't think they even had Conklin back at tight end. Nice win at Ohio, putting up 26 points and knocking off the Ohio Bobcats, which is no easy task. The game that everybody's going to look at here, Ian, if you haven't, tuned in or watched, and say, man, Toledo just iced Central Michigan 30-10. That was in an absolute monsoon where all Toledo did was hand the football off to Swanson, and on 2 fourth-down plays, he went the distance. I believe like 45 yards and 35 yards to break that open early. They could barely take snaps in that football game, so I take that out of the equation. Ball State, who's a bad football team. Central Michigan came in. I had that game. I believe, talk about market correction. It was -2.5. I got Central Michigan in that football game. They win 56-9. That's more indicative of how the offense is going to flow for Central Michigan. Also, Central Michigan, as we said before, very good pass rushing unit, but Western Michigan is going to be able to run the football. So I think Central Michigan is going to do their part. Western Michigan, talented enough on the ground to push that tape. And Ian, it's a MAC game. We're not talking about 75 points like an SMU, or UCF game would be in here. I just need this number to get to 50. And even bad offenses in the MAC, bad offensive football teams, a la Kent State last night and Bowling Green, they went over the total. I'll lean towards the total in 48, but just looking at the overall schedules, it just makes more sense to me. Even though you have a backup quarterback in there, I think he's going to be okay there with the read option. I think they should be able to get it done. I look for this game to head into the 50s, so I'll lean on the over. Ian, again, just to wrap up this MAC game, what are you leaning for in this game? Was it a side that you're looking at or the total as well?
Current number, I'm looking Western Michigan. I think there's a discount now in this number, and I don't think they're going to be lost at sea with Goddard at the quarterback spot. They'll be able to run and move the ball, and I like the over. I like your thought on the over there because I keep going back to the Buffalo game. Here's Drew Anderson. What, is that his first or second start after Tyree Jackson went down? What did he do? Oh, he only shredded Western Michigan for 7 touchdown passes and 600 passing yards almost. Shane Morris can move the football through the air. He can throw it, this guy. And Central Michigan is averaging over 250 yards through the air per game. That performance stands out like a sore thumb, that you could throw the ball on this Western Michigan defense. I think Shane Morris can do that tonight. So at 48, yeah, I do definitely see value looking over that number.
Yeah, and even looking at, MACtion weather, it's not going to be 25 degrees with 40-mile-an-hour wind swirling. It's going to be decent weather. And again, it's Western Michigan. If it's over 35 degrees, they're probably wearing shorts around campus and tank tops anyway. It's just the way they get down up there. But it should be a fun game to watch, opposite of the World Series. If you have dual TVs like I do down in my office here, one's going to be on football, one is going to be on the Major League Baseball game. So we'll have some fun. Ian, we're going to get to the ice right now. It's what we wait for on Wednesdays. Everybody in that live chat box pops in at least once or twice a day, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, on Friday. Are we going to talk any hockey? Yes, we are now going to talk a little bit of hockey tonight. Ian, we've been blessed on a Wednesday with 5 games. God smiled down on us and said, Ian's going to come on the show. Let's give him a little bit more than 1 or 2 games that are typical on Wednesdays. Let's get right into it here. Ian, 1-2 on the rotation, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be Philadelphia and Chicago. Total opens up in this one, Ian, at 5.5. Pinnacle opened up their line at -133. They now sit at -139. Looking across the board, Chris a little bit higher at -143. CG Technologies at -145. And our good friends at BetOnline, -141 in this game. What can we anticipate here from the Philadelphia Flyers going on the road to play the Chicago Blackhawks?
Well, I sung the praises, and it's funny you mentioned that. You're right. Thank you to the schedule makers to give us some meat on the bone on the hockey card for a Wednesday when I'm on the closing line here. We definitely appreciate that. And this is an interesting game. This is your NBC Sports Network national TV game tonight. Wednesday night rivalry, Flyers and Hawks. Remember, they faced off in the 2010 Stanley Cup final. It's hard to believe that was 7 years ago. Pete Laviolette coaching that Flyer team that year, and Patrick Kane scored the overtime winner in the to clinch the cup. Nobody thought it was in right away. Everybody was stunned by it. So going back, there's some history between these teams. And as much as I've sung the praises, Donnie, of your local hometown Philadelphia Flyers, they've got some issues right now defensively in terms of injuries. They've been bitten a little bit by the injury bug. Shane Gostisbehere's out. Samuel Morin, who's played very well on the back end's not playing. Andrew McDonald's not going to suit up tonight. So you're talking about down maybe 3 regular defensemen for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. Not good against Chicago. They can score goals, but Chicago's been giving them up as well. And Joel Quenneville put his team through the paces, a big bag skate following a bad loss to Colorado over the weekend. Not impressed whatsoever with his team's recent skid. I think you get a good effort from Chicago. I was looking to lay a price with them, not quite this high. I was looking at -130 or better with Chicago. It's a little high, but I'd still lean to the Blackhawks side. Good bounce back spot for them. And I think we see goals tonight. 5.5 would look over the total because the Flyers defense struggling, and it's affecting Brian Elliott and Michael Neuwirth a little bit in net. But they can score, the Flyers. We've seen it. They came back to tie the game against Arizona late the other night. Wayne Simmons, Giroux, with Jordan Wheel. They've all gotten off to great starts offensively for this Flyers team. They can score goals. So I think Chicago wins a higher scoring game there. Chicago and over look good to me there.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'll be rooting on my Fly guys tonight. Again, something to keep everything popping off around that 8 o'clock range for me. You got a little football, a little Flyers hockey. So we'll see what happens. But, hoping the best for the Philadelphia Flyers. In the last, Ian, who they play in the last game? Was it the Coyotes? Get down 3-0 that game. Lucky to actually come back. Still lost the game, but at least got a point out of that in overtime. Not a great showing there by my Fly guys.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't. I mean, they came out flat. I mean, when you get outshot 13-3 in the first period, that's an issue. You got problems if you're going to come out and start a hockey game that way. And Philadelphia got behind the 8 ball early and really didn't play good in the first 2 periods. It wasn't until the 3rd period that they got things going a little bit. But once they did, they took advantage of a very, very young Arizona defense and made some things happen. So again, once things started to roll for Philly, they tied it up, but again, end up losing in overtime. But they're really battling injuries on that back end. That's a concern. And when you have Joel Quenneville, who's usually very patient, calm with this team, just putting this team through a very, very tough, hard, rugged practice, following some bad losses. You would expect Chicago's A game tonight. If they're good, if they have an A game in them, Chicago, after this recent skid, you would think you see it tonight.
Game 3-4 on the rotation, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Puck drop here. It's going to be Pittsburgh and Edmonton. Murray and Talbot are going to be on the net tonight. Looks like if we take a look at some totals here, looks like some scoring is going to be in the cards tonight. 6 across the board as a total. Edmonton opens up at Pinnacle at -113, climbing up to -117. Chris, -121. CG Technologies a little bit behind it, -115. But BetOnline showing a 119 here. Edmonton at home versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ian, what can we expect from this matchup tonight on the ice?
Well, it's set the total of 6 because people expect these teams to be high scoring and potent, but that's not been the case with the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers have been dismal offensively. They have not scored. I know their shot on goal totals very high in a lot of games, but they're not generating really quality scoring opportunities and scoring chances with those shots. That's their biggest issue right now. And it's not going to be easy here against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is coming off just an absolute drubbing at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. It was a back-to-back situation on the road for Pittsburgh in their last game when they got absolutely drilled by the Winnipeg Jets in that game. You would expect Pittsburgh to really want to bounce back right now. I could only bet Pittsburgh in this game, Donnie. I mean, I don't like what I'm seeing from Edmonton. They're not scoring enough right now. That's a little bit of an issue. The Penguins are not necessarily a team I'm overly excited about betting against when they're coming off that kind of bad loss. They're usually one of those teams that you can usually count on them to bounce back after a really bad effort and a bad performance, and you'll probably get that out of Pittsburgh tonight. And I'd also be reluctant at this point in time to go over with Edmonton because they're just not scoring on a consistent basis. Pittsburgh's certainly capable of lighting the lamp. There's no question about that, but you would think they might dig in a little bit defensively. So in theory, this could be an over matchup, but I'm not seeing the secondary scoring, the depth forwards contributing much for Edmonton right now. I'll lean a little bit to Pittsburgh here in this game. Didn't bet it, but if I would, I'd look Penguins in this matchup.
Rotation 5, 6, 10 p.m. Eastern Time puck drop here. New Jersey Devils going to head out and play Vancouver. Looks like it's Schneider versus Markstrom in net tonight. Over under this one, Ian, 5.5. Opened up early at -117 at Pinnacle. -122 at Chris. Now sitting again still. Not much movement there. -122 at Chris. -125 CG Technologies. BetOnline showing -115. About 1,200 tickets have been tracked offshore for this one. What can we anticipate from the Devils going out to the West Coast to play Vancouver here?
What a story the New Jersey Devils have been. 8-2, 4-0 on the road, and now starting this road trip. Like the spot for New Jersey here, and you're catching a very, very slim, but still an underdog plus price attached to this Devils team. People don't understand how good this team is in terms of their speed. This team, for all 4 lines, can skate fast, can turn over pucks, can get on the puck carrier, and they're winning a ton of these loose puck battles, one-on-one battles in a lot of their games for pucks because they just can outskate you. And they get there to the spot quicker than an opposing forward does. That's been New Jersey's MO all season long. And Vancouver deserves credit for bringing that lunch pail effort, that hardworking mentality under Travis Green, first year as head coach of the Canucks. But it's a situation where they're still struggling to score goals. They may be without Brock Besser, who's a guy that they rely on to score here for this Vancouver team. Still not loaded with a ton of offensive weapons outside of Besser, outside of Bo Horvat and the Sedins. It's still a very limited group in terms of putting the puck in the net. New Jersey's not that way. They can't put the puck in the net. And whenever you get Corey Schneider facing his old team here like he is, that's something you got to keep in mind. I'm sure Corey Schneider is always excited to play Vancouver and looking to put his best foot forward in between the pipes for the Devils. They're also getting some reinforcements back. Andy Green's healthy again, defenseman. He's back. Marcus Johansson missed a couple games. He's back. And they also might get Brian Boyle making his season debut tonight, the Devils, a guy they acquired in the offseason, free agent after he was with Toronto and Tampa last year. Good depth forward, penalty killer, energy player, can chip in a goal or two for you. Good addition, good signing by the New Jersey Devils in the offseason. So he could be back. New Jersey's 5-0 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams as well. So they've had the better of it against the Canucks. I think they're worth a look here at the underdog price.
Now, interesting there. Definitely looking at that. I mean, the Devils, one of my hated rivals here, being obviously a Flyers fan out there. A lot of people in the chat box. Thanks for chiming in here. Over 120 people now currently watching live here for the closing line on November 1st, 2017, powered by SportsBookReview.com. If you haven't done so yet, folks, check out SportsBookReview.com. Looking to get down on some action here. Don't want to use a local bookie? we got you covered here, man. Everything from every single sportsbook that's going to offer bonuses out there. Also graded, how quickly they get the payouts out. A plus, A minus, A. If you have a problem, sportsbookreview.com certainly will help mediate those problems there. Any issues with any sportsbooks, let us know. Let us hear about it. That's what we're here in this industry to do. Ian, 2 more games on the docket tonight. 7-8 on the rotation, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time puck drop. As they say in Canada, Ian, Toronto is going to go out to Anaheim tonight, and it's going to be a line of, looks like over-under open up at 5.5. Now currently sitting at 6 across the board. Chris at -127, CG Technologies at -125. What can we anticipate here from Toronto going out west here to play the Anaheim Ducks?
Well, hopefully something better from the Toronto side, as Don Cherry would say. Toronto, the Maple Leafs, Toronto, something like that. When you get Don Cherry going on one of his rants, he's an all-time classic figure in this country. But Toronto's got to play better than they did the other night. They were awful against San Jose. I mean, they were buried in their own zone the whole game. Couldn't really move the puck outside of their own zone. Couldn't generate any offense, any offensive zone time. It was a miserable performance from them. Frederik Andersen's the only reason that game was a 1-goal game, 3-2. San Jose took the play to them. I'd expect them to play a lot better tonight, Toronto. I mean, they've made some lineup changes, which I think are for the good. They're going to insert Connor Carrick on the back end, give them more speed, more mobility, more puck movement from that back end. Josh Levo goes in on the third line. That's going to help. I think he's played good every time he's been in the lineup for Mike Babcock, and I think now finally Mike Babcock's finally starting to realize that at this point in time. So I think Toronto's in a good spot, and Anaheim's in a bad spot. Anaheim's off a long road trip in the East Coast. They played well in it, but tough spot, travel back home. They're an injury-riddled group. Ryan Getzlaf's out. Ryan Kessler's out. Hampus Lindholm's out. May not have Sami Vatanen in there. Just a really injury-riddled team. Now, they fought the good fight and been able to still put up wins despite the injuries, which is real impressive. Give the Ducks credit, but this is a very, very tough spot for them, and I think Toronto has to show you something after that last game, and I still think Toronto is a very good hockey team. They're just going through a little swoon, little malaise, but I think they got a chance to end that little swoon tonight. I like the Leafs as a small road chalk here.
Ian, 5 games tonight. Seems like it's all happening on the West. Get the World Series on the West Coast, tonight with the Dodgers. Then you got Edmonton, Vancouver, Anaheim, and San Jose all home. So Pacific time is definitely the place to be tonight. Last game on the card, 9-10 on the rotation, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7:30 Pacific, Nashville and San Jose. Line opened up at 5.5 as a total. Currently 5.5 across the board. Looks like a little bit more than double juice on that. CG Technologies on that under. You're going to pay -125. Bet online, you're going to pay -128 on that. Line opened up at Pinnacle, -119. Chris opened up at 24. You're going to see some nice movement here on the home team, San Jose Sharks. CG Technology now up to -140. Bet online showing a -136. Ian, we leaning towards the road dog here with Nashville. We're going to go with the home team, the San Jose Sharks.
This is an interesting one. I'm not enamored with San Jose at this point in time, but Nashville on the road is just not something I'm ever interested in really getting behind full throttle, especially in the regular season. It's just been not a team that's played their best hockey on the highway in years past, and they're only 2-4 on the road this season going into San Jose tonight. And let's give San Jose credit. They're playing good defensively. They're sort of changing their spots. They're trying to really be a better defensive team, limit the shots on goal against, the quality scoring chances against, let Martin Jones see as many pucks as possible. And that game plan has worked for them, especially of late. They're really trying to not play that old San Jose style where they run and gun. They're really trying to, forecheck, grind, cycle the puck and play good, solid defense. And that's why San Jose's 4-0 to the under in their last 4 games. They've really changed their spots. They don't play that run and gun, trade chances type of style anymore. Really focusing on the defensive end of the ice, get good goaltending, have a good penalty kill. And their penalty kill actually has been very good. You look at the last, 6 games, they've only given up 1 power play goal. So very good on the penalty kill for San Jose. Nashville, to me, still very inconsistent. They are coming off a bad home loss to the New York Islanders, 6-2. Laviolette wasn't happy. So you would expect Nashville to play better, but just don't trust them on the road just yet. So sidewise, I'm not involved. Under does make a little bit of sense. I could understand why under 5.5's taken a little bit of money so far today.
No, it does make sense. That'll wrap up the hockey card tonight for us there, Ian. Of course, always bringing the noise there with NHL hockey. It's why we love to have them on Wednesday nights, go over what's happening here. Ian, I know we just recapped some of the games here, but just give us a little fill-in. We don't get to talk that much about hockey itself, and I like to ask every single week, what's looking good in the NHL, teams that aren't playing as well as you would thought, teams playing above their head, or something that we can look at down the future where you think one of these teams is going to kick it in the gear. Give me maybe a team that's on the right path, and maybe give me a team that's not on the right path at this point.
Well, in terms of not on the right path, when you look at it, the Canadians have struggled so far this year. Right now, the Leafs aren't playing well, but I think they're going to turn it around. Minnesota Wild are not on the right path. Minnesota can't score goals right now. That's an issue. They got another bad loss for them at home last night to the Winnipeg Jets, unable to put a puck in the ocean right now. The Minnesota Wild, a 2-1 loss to Winnipeg. That's no good. So they're in some trouble. Teams you like, Tampa Bay. I mean, just as impressive as it gets so far this season, no question. They've gotten off to a strong start. The team we talked about, New Jersey. I think there's going to be some regression for New Jersey. I mean, nobody saw 8-2 for New Jersey in their first 10 games happening, but I think you keep riding this team until they hit that little rough patch. But yeah, New Jersey and Tampa on the good side. Minnesota on the not-so-good side. I mean, that team's got issues right now in terms of scoring. They need Zach Parise back in the worst way. Maybe that gets them going because nobody else is putting a puck in the net for them at the moment.
No, it should be an interesting card there. I like catching up with hockey talk there. I know you're also a big NBA guy as well, and we have a couple games circled that we want to get to tonight. One, a 7 o'clock start Eastern time, 7:03, 7:04, Milwaukee Bucks and the Charlotte Hornets. About a 50-50 ticket split in this one, Ian, as we're showing up. Line opened up at Pinnacle -3. Chris opened up at -2, now sitting at -4. Some 3.5 still left out on the card. Over under in that one, 203. Chris showing a 202.5, so about that same environment. What can we anticipate maybe in this Bucks Hornets game tonight, Ian?
Well, I'm always interested in Milwaukee plus points, and to be honest, like I say, I'm not totally cemented into the NBA at this time of year, but I get other people's opinions. I have a little gut lean here and there from time to time, and I know someone I know that I respect in terms of their opinion likes Milwaukee here, and I can't disagree. I know they're on a back-to-back situation. I believe they're 7-1-1 ATS, their last 9 games on a back-to-back spot, and Charlotte's just a team I don't flat out trust in a favorite role. I know the schedule might be somewhat in their favor here tonight, but Milwaukee, even in the blowout loss to OKC last night, the Bucks didn't play many of their starters, didn't extend a ton of their starters in that loss. They were able to get them off the floor earlier. The game was over pretty quickly. I think you're going to see them sharper, a little more fresher than they normally would be on the second night of back-to-backs, and really have a chip on their shoulder to bounce back. That was an ugly performance last night for that Milwaukee team against OKC. So I think Milwaukee plus the points, something worth looking at there at 4.
How about this one up here? 7:15, 7:16, 8 o'clock Eastern time start. Houston Rockets, New York Knicks. Line currently sitting across the board. Opened up at 5, 4.5, depending where you were shopping at. And it's about the same across the board, 5.5, even showing a -6 at sportsbook.com in the favor of the Houston Rockets. Traveling to New York after losing to the Philadelphia 76ers the other night. We'll see if they can get a bounce back in this one. High over-under, which is typical there, especially in Houston Rockets games, at about 213, 213.5. Any ideas on what we can look at in this game with the Knicks and the Rockets, Ian?
Yeah, it's high, but I'm on over here at 213 in this game. It should be a higher scoring affair. Rockets, we know, certainly have done a lot to really push for their place in the Western Conference, although I know Golden State's been very, very erratic, but can we really, really buy into Golden State's early season, inconsistency? I think we still all believe in our heart of hearts that Golden State is going to come out of the Western Conference, and, you could say what you want about Houston's going to try to threaten them and maybe some other teams, but it's hard to envision anyone other than Golden State not representing the Western Conference final here in the NBA Finals. So I think we get good points here in this particular game. I think the Rockets, they're going to be able to push the ball like we always know they can with Mike D'Antoni. That's the way they want to play. And, the New York Knicks, to me, lacks on defense. You don't know what you're going to get from this Knicks team defensively on a night in and night out basis. And that's what you'd expect from teams that have struggled for years. There's not going to be a situation where New York is a team that you expect them to put up resistance at the defensive end of the basketball court. When you're a bad team, you don't usually play well at that end of the court, and it's been more the same for the Knicks. So I think you get both teams trading buckets here, and you get that game up and over the total tonight.
Ian, we got both Torontos here underway tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time start. Toronto Raptors and the Denver Nuggets going to square up. High over under that one, 215. Low line here, 64% of the ticket money coming in on the Toronto Raptors. Not really moving that line around, showing -1.5 across the board to the home team, Denver Nuggets. Do we see the Raptors able to go out there and steal a victory? Is that going to be the Nuggets' night tonight, Ian?
Well, Toronto's been one of those teams here where they've been up and down on this road trip of theirs. Again, against the really top teams that they've faced on this road trip, they've struggled. They didn't beat San Antonio. They didn't beat Golden State, although it was their late game execution that really bothered them and really cost them those two basketball games, especially Golden State. That game was there for the taking. Last minute, it was, brick, and then every time Golden State came down the floor, they scored, and Steph Curry just killed them with a late three in that basketball game, and Golden State was able to prevail. But Toronto had a very good performance the other night against Portland. Very impressed with the way they took apart that Blazers team. We know McCollum and Lillard, one of the top backcourts in the NBA. Very impressive. But Toronto able to negate them a little bit. And they're getting these youngsters that are just filling this Raptors lineup with a little energy, a little different look. Your Pascal Siakams and your Nogueiras. DeLon Wright's getting more playing time. Jakob Poeltl stepping up. I mean, they've got a lot of a youth movement going on in terms of their bench right now, the Raptors, and I think it's helping them out a little bit. I like Toronto a little bit at the underdog price. I was expecting, maybe just Toronto to be a slight favorite in this game. Instead, they're a slight underdog. Denver's one of those teams that, again, is very erratic, hard to get a good gauge on. And I think Toronto has to sense that they need this game tonight. They got a tough one to wrap up the road trip in altitude Friday night against that Utah team. And Utah, they're no joke. Utah is as good a defensive team as there is in the NBA. That's not going to be easy. And I don't think the Raptors have historically done well in Salt Lake City and Utah. So I think this is their spot. They need this win. Because that Jazz game staring at them Friday night's not going to be an easy one. So I think Toronto has the focus there to go into Denver tonight and get the win.
Now, it should be interesting. Anything else, Ian, on the hardwood you want to talk about tonight?
Let me just check. I think that for the most part, that's it.
People eat that up. Yeah.
I'm kind of tempted by Sacktown because they were just so embarrassed, but they're just not good enough to me to trust them, even though they're getting 12 here. In Boston, if Boston brings their A game, they can annihilate Sacramento in that game. So I was leaning in that direction, but going to pass. We'll see. I was kind of tempted by the Sixers laying the points against Atlanta, but Philly's one of those teams, Donnie. You're a Sixers guy. You see them a lot. They're more of a pick-em price range underdog team. I like betting them in that spot, getting that kind of number. Laying 7.5, 8. Are they ready to lay this kind of number? Even though I think they've got the edge here against the Atlanta Hawks, but was leaning Sixers. But I'm going to pull back a little bit and stay away from it.
Yeah, it looks like going to get J.J. Redick back tonight, even though they did win the other night without J.J., so that's always going to help. But you're right about that. I mean, when you look back at the Sixers, we like them in underdog situations or close scoring situations, close lines, but now they're going to be favored that they actually have to execute and beat a team basically by double digits. We'll see what happens in that equation. And you got a little bit more time here tonight. We'll breeze over some NCAA football action for tomorrow, maybe preview an NFL game or two here, and we'll get right back into some action here. Next game up on the docket, I want to talk about 309-310. That's going to be the Northern Illinois Huskies and the Toronto. Look at that. Got Toronto in my mind. Toledo Rockets.
I know.
Heading in the matchup, which I think are the two better teams in the MAC if you put it down. I mean, Eastern Michigan plays everybody tough. They just can't go over the hump. But best offense in the conference has to be Toledo. One of the best defenses, Northern Illinois. And they have the MO and the moxie that they've been showing, over the past 5-6 decades, should say over the past 10 years, a really good football team there. Childers has come in, Santa Catarina was playing for a while, more of a read option, more athletic kid, didn't really work out. Ryan Graham's been out with that elbow injury. So he's come on and really played well, especially in the absence of Huff, the running back, who's been out the past couple of games. He might play in this football game tomorrow. But we're looking at a line, Ian, opened up at 9.5. Chris opened up at 10. That's taken a little bit of a backtrack, and I do agree with that. I think that 10 double-digit number was a little bit too high because Northern Illinois does bring it on defense. But to me, overall, Toledo's the best team in the conference because they have the combination of the best offense and the best defense overall. I think they have the best pure passer in the conference. with Logan Woodside, can get first downs all over the place. As long as it's not really bad weather, like 40-mile-an-hour winds and, heavy rains, they're going to be able to move the football. Swanson, who was a pairing last year with Kareem. I mean, imagine that. I always get back to this Toledo team last year. I had Kareem Hunt, Swanson, and Woodside still, and Thompson at wide receiver still healthy. Just an amazing football team, but they seem to carry that tradition over in this one. Looks like over-under's 57.5. Sounds about right in this one, even though Toledo, it does seem high at -8. I just think their offense is what carries the day here. They're at home in the Glass Bowl, tough place to win. I'm going to lean on taking it right now, Toledo, at that -8 number. I love the way their offense plays. I just think it's more potent than what Northern Illinois is going to run out there. But it should be a close game throughout. I just think overall Toledo's the better team, might be able to pull away late here. Do you got any thoughts on that game, Ian?
Yeah, there could be some Northern Illinois sentiment as in trying to explain why this number's moved because of their track record as a dog this year. It has been good. There's no question. Boston College, they cover as a dog. San Diego State lose by 6 but cover as a dog. Nebraska, they lose by 4 but cover, or they win that game outright rather as a 10.5 point underdog. Yeah, won that game outright. So their underdog track record's been good. Perfect ATS this season. But I'm not still in rush to fade Toledo. I mean, Toledo's to me a great football team. They've crushed their opponents. 4 straight games where they've outgained their opponents now by a combined over 700 yards in the last 4 games combined in MAC play. Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan, Akron, and Ball State. And 2 of those teams are pretty decent. Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan in particular. So Toledo's got the complete package. Logan Woodside at the quarterback spot. Explosive offense, balanced offense, can run it, can throw it. Everything to like about this Toledo offense. They can score at you in so many different ways. And Northern Illinois, if they get behind, this is still not a come from behind, rally the troops type of offense. I mean, they've got to keep this game close, keep themselves within striking distance. So tough game for me, but I'm not stepping in front of Toledo. I've been saying that all along in this conference. They are superior, in my opinion, to everyone else. And I know Northern Illinois' track record as a dog is going to keep me off the Toledo side, but as far as I'm concerned, Donnie, I have no major argument with you maybe stepping in, looking at Toledo laying the points here. This is not a team I have any interest in fading in this conference right now.
Yeah, Northern Illinois only allowing 2.7 yards per carry on the ground. That'll be tested with Swanson. They do have a 3-headed monster also at Toledo, but Toledo overall just a better football team to me. And again, sometimes it's MACtion there. You might want to lean on the points. Can I see Northern Illinois going in and beating Toledo in the Glass Bowl? I mean, sure, I can see it. They're a good football team, but I would just lean on Toledo in these type of circumstances. Game 2 tomorrow, and keep in mind, Ian, these games start at 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, so we're going to be live on the show. I'm going to be breaking the football down with Teddy while these games are going on. Going to be a little bit distracted here, to say the least, because 2 football games that I'm actually really interested in. The second one here is going to be Ball State, Eastern Michigan. Broke this game down a little bit earlier on the roundtable with us. It all comes down to Ball State. Ball State, as we know, starting their 4th-string quarterback, a young freshman kid who didn't look particularly good in the last football game that he played, albeit he was, outclassed a little bit playing Toledo. But he's not going to get much help here going against an Eastern Michigan team whose defense, to me, is actually better than Toledo overall. It's what are you going to get out of Ball State? Are they just going to be happy with first downs? Hey, let the kid go out there. We'll open the playbook a little bit for him. There's not going to be much out there. Running back, okay for Ball State. Quarterback, bad. Wide receivers, not that good. Pedestrian versus a really good Eastern Michigan defense. Eastern Michigan, if you look at their schedule, I mean, they've played a gauntlet as they've gone through playing out of conference, in conference, play everybody tough right to the bell. This is one of those games that might be a little bit of a breather. You're going to be on national TV. They're going to be excited for this one. I know that line seems high. Chris showing it 23.5, over under at 47. Even more than the side itself, I can actually see, even though how bad Ball State's defense is, I think Ball State can, keep them in somewhere in that 30-point range. I don't see Ball State getting to 17 unless some freak stuff happens, because I know a lot of people had that under 14.5 team total with Ball State last week. And what did it take in that game, Ian? A fumble on the punt inside the 5-yard line, which Ball State took 4 downs to get it into the end zone from the 4-yard line, finally scoring on 4th down. I don't see much out of Ball State. I might even lean on the under. How crazy that sounds in a MAC game at 47 and how bad the defense for Ball State is. But I just don't think they can move the football that much on Eastern Michigan here, Ian.
Well, that's the thing. If they don't punch in a touchdown, they may not cover in this game here against Eastern Michigan. That's the concern. And we're running out of racetrack. We're on the clock here, so I'm going to keep this brief so we can get to more games. But yeah, it's to me, there's no case, none, zero. to make for Ball State. The case is, can you lay this many points with Eastern Michigan, a little bit more of a pedestrian type of offense compared to Toledo, Central Michigan, and some other teams? Would you be willing to lay this many points, especially with them off 3 straight, just nail-biting, excruciating losses to Army, to Western Michigan, and Northern Illinois? But if they have one more opportunity to step up and show themselves here, even after 3 really crushing losses in a row, it could be here at home, as you said earlier on the roundtable, national TV. It's not a case of can you make it for Ball State. It's can you lay this many with EMU.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty simple in that one there. We get to, I've got about maybe 5 minutes left here in the show. We'll flip it over to a little bit of NFL action. Ian, we talked earlier about Buffalo and the New York Jets there on Thursday Night Football. Quick synopsis of that game. Line sitting at 3. The more I look at it, obviously, do I think Buffalo's the better team? Yes, I do. And again, this is a Thursday Night Football game. Usually, one of those where you would worry about, Ian, if it's, the Jets are going out to play Oakland on a Thursday night, that cross-country, lose the entire day. Quick little jaunt there in your Gulfstream, if you're a CEO out there. But, heading from Buffalo to New York, that's not really going to be too big of an effect. The one thing I do like about the Jets, Ian, is they do tend to play well at home. I mean, they have beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, played the Patriots really tough, played the Atlanta Falcons really tough. Beat the Miami Dolphins at home. That's what I look forward to here. I just see this game as a conference game. I'm not in the mood to lay points yet with Buffalo on the road. At home, I love them when they're 2, 3-point favorites. They always tend to play well. The past 2 weeks there with Oakland and playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they played that role very well. But now stepping out, going on the road on a short week, I'm not in a rush to bet this football game, but got to be honest, Ian, I'll probably be leaning a little bit towards the New York Jets, even though how banged up they are. Do want to keep an eye on those practice reports and see what that final injury report comes out to, because if they're going to be down like Mo Claiborne and a couple other players, I might not want any part of this game. But right now, I got to say I'm leaning towards the Jets here, Ian.
Yeah, I don't love the spot for Buffalo here. I mean, you're off 2 big home wins, Tampa and Oakland. Laying 3 on the road, that's just not a profile I love. Short week traveling on a Thursday night. And a revenge spot for the Jets for losing to Buffalo in week 1 on the road. The problem is the Jets were pretty thoroughly dominated in that football game. I mean, it was only 21-12 on the scoreboard, but 416 to 212 in total yards in favor of the Bills. Really, it was a deceiving scoreline. The Bills were the better of those 2 teams. And Buffalo, to me, can their offense do enough for them on the road? Their offense, and Tyrod Taylor in particular, has performed much better at home. It's been that way the last couple of years because can they bring it with them on the road? And the concern for Buffalo is their secondary situation. Will Poyer and Gaines, either one of those guys, be back on the field on Thursday night for this game? So I will not be on the Jets because I do not believe they're the better team here. I still believe Buffalo is, but in regards to the spot, it's not a great Bills spot. So as a result, it's a pass.
No, I hear you on that one. It's a tough game. I mean, most Thursday night football games, you try to get that angle and MO in that. But again, it's funny because the Jets coming in the season weren't supposed to be very good. And the same thing could have been said about Buffalo. I mean, trading assets away. Oh, my God, look at the Bills. New regime, tanking, just trying to get their football players in there. Both of these teams are playing really hard here. I'm actually, because we know Gabe very well. I mean, I'm rooting for Buffalo. It's more fun when, Gabe's engaged, and it's going to be great. November and December doing the closing line on Sunday afternoons with Gabe with the Buffalo heading down the stretch, which adds to the more tension that Gabe has during the games and how upset he gets. Because the Buffalo's 2-7, maybe he loses his bet and he's angry, but now you have a vested interest in the Buffalo Bills. Always fun to watch Gabe and his reactions there.
We have to admit too, Donnie.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have to admit too, Donnie, the bigger concern shouldn't be will the Buffalo Bills win on Thursday night for Gabe. It's whether Gabe will get out of the Big Apple alive and breathing. That's really the most important, critical concern that we all should have here at SBR.
Will Customs hem him in coming back from the United States back into Canada, or will there be some outstanding warrants from his time in New York City? But yeah, Gabe, in a time of need for New York City, sending Gabe there, you sort of add that levity there. Maybe he can bring that city together and, make some world peace out there. I think he can make it happen, Ian.
I'm telling you, a kumbaya moment is coming for New York here in the next 24 to 48 hours, and Gabe Morency will be the reason why.
Absolutely. Hey, Ian, looks like we're probably out of time tonight. I don't want to get into another game and press up a couple things. I know there's a lot of stuff you have today. Ian, you're a busy man today. You know what I mean? Did you have the Ice Guys today? Or you're actually off from the Ice Guys today, but you did have the roundtable you did with us. Now you're doing the closing line. You'll be on with Gabe a little bit later on Wicked Wednesdays. Always a lot of fun in that chat box there. Gabe brings out the shotguns when people get a little bit out of line there. But talk a little bit about what you're going to talk about tonight and what your weekend sets up ahead with the Ice Guys and where we can find you at as well, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, right here at SBR, we're doing a lot of things. We're doing the Ice Guys every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 3 days a week, 9 a.m. Eastern time, right here on SBR Videos. The Roundtable every Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I do the closing line here with you, Donnie, and always have fun doing it. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. With Morency on the late night anger management class, 10 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. We're doing NFL and college football play of the week videos that are submitted that are posted on SBR's social media platforms across the various platforms they have there. And we've got something in the works for Big Man and I to do a college basketball show starting next week or the week after. It'll be probably once or twice a week at the most, but something in the college basketball ranks for Big Man and I. Big Man's been wanting him and I to do a show. Just the two of us. We haven't had one since we've been at SBR, so that's going to be our opportunity to have one during college basketball season. So looking forward to that. But plenty of opportunities to see my face here on the SBR platform. That's for sure.
No, we'll have a lot of fun. Just to wrap it up a little bit on a couple of things with the Central Michigan-Western Michigan game, my play of the day I'll use for the closing line tonight. I'll take the over 48 in the game. And again, as we were talking here, Matthew Holt, good friend of the show there, works at CG Technologies, and he did raise it to 49 after we talked over, leaning towards the over tonight. So he must be watching the show and raising it accordingly. I'll go over the 48. I'll lean a little bit on the Dodgers, but my play of the night is going to be that over 48 in the Central Michigan Western game. What are you going to have tonight, Ian, as a play of the day, or maybe a couple plays here that the people can pick on here on the closing line?
Yeah, let's go back and let's lace up our skates. Let's get our sticks and let's head to the NHL ice. Let's look at rotation number 5, New Jersey, plus 105. Or is it? Has it moved a little bit? It has a plus 100, plus 102. There we go. I'm looking for plus 103. There we go. Heritage. We'll go with that. SBRodds.com helping me out again. Heritage plus 103 on the New Jersey Devils, a slim underdog tonight. 4-0 on the road, 8-2 on the season. Starting a road trip in Vancouver. That's always a bet on spot. Team starting a road trip. Yeah, usually get a good effort that first game of the trip. Vancouver. Coming back to earth a little bit in terms of their scoring. They've had a hard time putting the puck in the net. New Jersey has shown the ability to score consistently, not so much Vancouver. And I think New Jersey still starting out the season as the better of these two teams. So let's go with the Devils here as a slight underdog, plus 103. That'll be my best bet, I guess you could say, for the closing line tonight.
Fantastic. Well, it's been another great show, Ian. Every Wednesday, right through at least till the Stanley Cup Finals, Ian's going to be on with us on Wednesdays, talking hockey, talking basketball, talking NCAA football, NFL. Time goes quick here. Just about an hour up here for us on the closing line for November 1st, 2017, powered by the good people at sportsbookreview.com, folks. Again, if you haven't checked out SBRodds.com, lines moving daily, all free. See where the money's going. See where the lines are changing. Track as many books. I mean, there's at least a dozen books on there that you can track at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Give us a follow on that. Also, obviously, watching here on the SBR Forum through YouTube. Subscribe, get the notifications every time we go live. Hit it on your phone. Come right in here and enjoy the live chat and connect with us. We always love having you guys out there on the chat box, and check out sportsbookreview.com as well. Folks, it was a lot of fun hosting it. I was your host today, Donnie RightSide. Again, for Ian Cameron at Bobano, give him a follow on Twitter. This has been the closing line. I want you folks out there to cash those tickets tonight. And when you do cash them, reach out to me on Twitter. Reach out to SBR on Twitter. Let's have some fun with that. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same bat channel, 6 p.m. Eastern time, where me and Teddy Cover is going to talk over the football card and NCAA action and NFL action. Have a great night, folks. Enjoy that World Series Game 7 tonight.